and welcome back. This will be week 4 for our Practical English 1 class. So today we are going to again watch the video as you are looking at the PowerPoint. And once again, I'm not going to put the video into the PowerPoint because it's too big a file, and as many of you have found out, it's quite difficult to upload big files to the GNUE site. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a look at our PowerPoint slide number 1. So this week what we're going to do is first I want to take a look at what we will be doing for next week, just briefly. Also, I want to look at, take a closer look. We're still doing review essentially, but we're starting now to move into new topics and more complex topics. So this is our final review week basically for what you should be comfortable with. So we're going to look today at open and closed questions. We are also going to look at should, would, and could, which you're familiar with, but we're going to practice using them because I found that there's quite a bit of confusion about the word should and how it is used in English versus Korean. And then we're going to talk about presentation skills very briefly, and we're going to take a look at Vernacular Chapter 1. So if we move to slide number 2, you can see that next week, for week number 5, we will be in class. Yay! So the corona numbers are decreasing. Hopefully this will continue. We are not 100% sure as yet. But we see some positive news globally also, because Canada, at least in Toronto, in Ontario, they have, we have, sorry, that was a student, because we're doing Zoom meetings online. The corona numbers are decreasing in Ontario, in Canada, in the province that I come from, Ontario. They are now taking masks off in public. So you no longer are required to wear a mask, although many people still are choosing to. And the same is true in England. This is what I heard yesterday from my family in England and Canada. So we're hoping that here in Korea we will also be seeing the same type of decrease in numbers. Hope, hope. Cross your fingers means hope, hope, hope. So hopefully I will see you in class next week. Do please remember to take care of yourselves still, of course. Wash your hands lots. Stay out of highly populated places if you can. Take care of yourselves and your family and friends. Moving now to slide number 3. We're going to start this this presentation with open and closed questions, because these are the basic format for all questions in English. You are, I'm sure, familiar with this, so we're just going to take a quick look. This is not a particularly in-depth look, just to make sure everybody is comfortable and that you remember how we make questions in English. So if we take a look at slide number 4, which we should be able to do now. I'm just making sure my camera is working. Open questions are questions in English that begin with one of these words. So we begin with one of the 5 W's. Can you remember them? And if you can't, you can take a look at the slide. So traditionally we do say what? What are our 5 W's? And we've also got, if you look at the yellow balloon, we have one extra, which is not a W, but we know is there, so we move from our W to our H. So our open questions, of course, are who, when we're talking about people, what, as in objects or when we're referring to different types of nouns, where things are, what time, okay, so times that things happen, when things happen, why, for what reason, and how, usually how we use with how much or how many. So what we're going to do now is move on to slide number 5. And slide number 5, the reason why I chose to do this is because this is one of the simplest errors that students make, well, not just students, but people make. And so what I wanted to do is for us to focus on it, because we, of course, want to improve your language ability quickly and easily. So let's think. Okay, that's the first step, in my opinion, to improvement. Can we answer yes or no? Let's think about it. Let's think about it. So if you begin with an H and you say, how are you? This is an open question, yes. And if you say, how are you? And the person answers yes, there is no match. It's weird. What about if you ask someone, what, there's our W, what is your name? And they say, no. What do you think? Also strange, right? So the point about this is when we have a question that is asked of us, or when we ask a question that begins with one of the W's or the H, we cannot answer yes or no. Otherwise it's really weird. So this is a really good focus for you, a good habit to get into, is to practice listening for the first word. So what I'd like to do now is practice. So if we look at slide number 6, what I would like to do is take the time, and I'm going to give you, let's say, 15 seconds to answer each of these questions. Now remember that the point about this is we've looked at tense, so we're going to match the tense. Okay, number 1. And number 2 is you're going to notice that we are asking open questions. So you can't answer yes or no. Try to remember. Here we go. Number 1, who is sitting near you? Who's close to you? Okay, so in my case, no one is sitting near me. So of course we should be supplying anybody or no one or many people. There are a lot of people sitting near me. And we need the is momoing, is sitting. Next question, let's go with what do you do? Now this is something that I was talking recently with a colleague about. And the issue is my computer is very old and sometimes it gets very frustrating. The issue with this is your occupation. So what do you do with most of your time? So what do you do? Answer. Okay, so if you answered, I am a student, or perhaps if you have a part-time job, you could answer, I am a tutor, I am a private teacher, I am a teacher, I will be a teacher. You could also change the tense to reflect that what you will do in the future. But the tense is really, really important, so if you're just going to answer the question, same tense. If you want to reflect the time more carefully, then we'll change the tense. Number 3, easy peasy. Let's go. Where are you from? Go. Okay, so I'm hoping you remembered that where are you from is originally. Okay, so this means maybe where you were born or where you lived most of your life. So again, I'm hoping you got that one, no problem. Number 4, let's move on. When did you get up this morning? Go. Okay, so I'm hoping that you noticed that it was the past tense. So as soon as we hear the W, we know we cannot answer yes or no. And we heard the past tense, so instead of saying did get up, then we're going to put it together and say I got up. So I got up at 7 a.m. or whatever time you got up. Or you could say I didn't get up this morning, I got up this afternoon. Wow, that would be impressive. Number 5, let's move on to number 5. Why do you think you are a good person? Go. Okay, so I hope you're answering me out loud. This is what I'm looking for in this type of an exercise because we have no classroom interaction. I'm going to let you do it by yourselves, basically. So why do you think you're a good person? Perhaps you, I'm a good person because I take care of my parents. I'm a good person because I... What do you do that makes you a good person? Many things, I'm sure. Let's move on to number 6. Number 6 is how much money is in your pocket? Go. Okay, so nowadays, many of us actually don't keep money in our pockets. So you might say, I have no money in my pocket. Or you could have, maybe I have 500 won, I have 1,000 won, but remember we should change it into English as well. I have 10,000 won, manon, something like that. And finally, number 7, let's try. How many subjects are you taking? Go. Alright, so I am not certain how many subjects you're taking, but we should answer I am taking 8 subjects. I am taking, or you could say we are taking if you know for certain that your classmates and you have the same amount of classes, of class subjects. Even though they may be different subjects, you might have a same base point. Anyways, moving on now to slide number 7. What is the point of all of this? This is our checkpoint. Did you answer yes or no to any of those questions? And remember that those were all open questions. If you did not answer yes or no, excellent, very good job. If you did, because of course, mistakes, we make mistakes, we are human. If you did, please practice your listening skills more. So when you're listening to someone who speaks to you, for example, when we are in class, if you hear a W first, remember you can't answer yes or no. And that's it. That was our main point for our open questions. So of course, we're going to move on now to closed questions. So for closed questions, we're going to move to slide number 8 now. So closed questions obviously are the opposite. So open questions, sometimes you can also call open-ended questions, which means that many answers are possible. Closed questions are essentially questions that begin with a verb, and this is what we're looking for when we want a yes or no answer. So questions that begin with a verb, let's just think about this first. So do you know about Michael Jackson? How about that? Are you sad today? Did you hear there's a new Harry Potter movie coming out in April? Were you on campus yesterday? Will you go out for a coffee tomorrow? Have you ever been to Japan? Okay, so these are the types of questions that we're looking at. And again, the main point is, what is the first word that you're hearing in the question? So can you think of a question? Anything? Give me one question that's a closed question. And be kind, be gentle. Okay, so in this case I used, do you know my name? You could choose, do you want A or B? You know, there are millions of questions you can ask, so don't try to ask the same question over and over again. You know, try to use different types of questions, to get more information. So why? Why closed questions? Well, let's take a look. Now, the idea for this is when we want a definite answer, okay? So, for example, a student walks into class and I can smell smoke. So, what would my question be? So I'm hoping you said simply, do you smoke, or were you smoking? Could be also possible. So do you smoke means usually, regularly, normally, and were you smoking means just before you came into class. So for closed questions, I'm looking at slide number 9 right now. Can we answer yes or no? Let's think about it. Are you okay? Do you smoke? If we answer yes, this is a correct response. This is what we're looking for. If you say, do you smoke, and someone says yes, it's a correct answer, but maybe it's not a healthy answer. And what about, is your name Momo? So here I chose, is your name Sang-yoon? And because we have, we answer no, that also is a good answer, because it shows you understand the question, and I understand also it's a closed question, and I know my name is not Sang-yoon. No, it's Sally. So you can answer yes or no to closed questions. This is our main point. And you should be fairly comfortable with this because it's not very complex. If you find it a little bit difficult, just slow down. And remember, you can always ask someone, you know, what? Pardon me, or what did you say? And they will repeat the question again. So moving to slide number 10, now the question for us is, we know this, you know, this is review, so how can we level up? How can we make our, you know, this one word answer better? I put here, but if we use grammar, it's better, because especially for students, for us as students, we know grammar can be very difficult and very boring. So the point of this is to help your elementary school students, because for children especially, grammar can be quite tough. So if you use the same language and you use good language in English, your students will copy you. They will do as you do. So in this case, if someone says, are you okay? You know, you see someone and they maybe are holding their head, or they look a little bit sad or something, and you say, are you okay? If they answer, I am, this is excellent. This is what you want to do. This is ideal. Is your name Sang-yoon? Then you would answer, it is. And they say, oh, fantastic, fantastic. You know, this is the epitome of wonderful students. So rather than answering with one word, yes or no, right? Because actually there's no grammar there. You're just giving an affirmative or a negative. If we answer with the grammar, not only does it mean that we understand it's a closed question, but we're also understanding what grammar was used and how to give it back, which is actually pretty complex. And I think you can all do this beautifully. So show off your beautiful skills and try your best to use 2 words or more rather than just yes or no. Moving on now to slide number 11. So for slide number 11, sorry, I'm just checking to make sure that my camera is still on because sometimes it likes to stop. Moving on to slide number 11, we're going to move into our textbooks. So when we look in our textbooks, and I'm not going to post the textbook this week because I'm fairly certain every student has it. If you do not have a copy of the textbook yet, please talk to me and I will set you up. In the textbook, we're going to take a look. So we've got on the front, so we'll just read through this together very quickly. 1, 2, 3, read. Open questions. Begin with the W, who, what, where, when, why, how. Any answer is okay except yes or no. Closed questions. Begin with the verb. Answer, yes, no, I don't know. I don't know is always okay. So what I'd like you to do is to fill in the chart. So we're going to fill in the answers in the chart. And I will give you, it's not particularly difficult, so how about we give you 20 seconds to fill in the blanks. Go. Do you need a little more time? How about we give maybe 10 more seconds? Good job. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to read the chart. So we're going to go from the top to the bottom, and we're going to go actually from the left to the right, top to the bottom. So we have our tense, present tense, examples. Are you a student? Do you get up at 7? And our answers are I am or I'm not. Do you get up at 7? I do or I don't. Okay, so you see here that even though we aren't actually saying yes or no, we're using that grammar, and that means we are saying it with grammar, which is much more complex, much more difficult, and of course that shows much higher skill, so you can be very proud of yourselves. Past tense, let's take a look at the past tense. So let's read together. 1, 2, 3, read. Past tense. Only the first verb is past tense. Did you get up at 7? Did you play soccer today? So if we answer and we want to provide an affirmative, then you say I did. And if we answer, I didn't. Okay, very simple. Future tense, let's read together. 1, 2, 3, go. Will you get up at 7? So that means tomorrow morning. And our answers, of course, are I will or I will not. And if you want to, you can put will not together because we're speaking, and you can say I won't. Okay, so I'm hoping you got that one. If you did, excellent, very good job. And moving now to the present continuous. So this is the am, momo, ing. Let's read together. 1, 2, 3, read. Are you going to get up at 7? Are you going to play soccer today? And our answers are, I'm going to, or I'm not going to. And then let's move to our last category, which is the past present perfect. So let's read. 1, 2, 3, go. Have you ever gotten up at 7? So the brackets mean you can put it in or take it out. So we can also say, have you gotten up at 7? And it conveys the exact same information. So let's do the second question without the ever. Let's try. 1, 2, 3, read. Have you played soccer? Good. So if we want to answer yes, remember our focus, we hear the verb, we say the verb. So our yes is I have, or the negative, I haven't, I have not. So let's move on. The most important point about this is we are using grammar instead of a one-word answer, which is really, really important. So let's take a look here at slide number 13. So slide number 13 is our question number 1. Are these questions that we just read through open or closed questions? Good. So if you click and you get it, then, and I'm sure you can have a nice big hint from my choice of pictures. So they are closed questions. And how did you know? Every question began with a verb. So we had, for the present tense, are you a student? Do you get up? For the past tense, we had, did you get up? For the future, we had, will you? Present continuous, are you going to? Present perfect, have you? Okay, so we know now for sure, guaranteed, that as long as you hear a verb, you should return the verb. Okay, let's see. Let's move on now to slide 14. So slide 14 is our first homework assignment. So your homework is to write 3 closed questions. So why don't we try it now? I'm going to give you some time for each question. So how about we practice using some different tenses, because I think this is a really good idea, because most of my students like to use easy questions, you know, so they use the same questions and they already know the answers. Ask a question you don't know the answer to, okay? So how about the question number 1 is a do you, okay? So what you want to ask about is perhaps hobbies, or do you like? And then you want to talk about something that people perhaps may like. Question number 2, let's use are you going to? Okay, are you going to? And ask about something that after, what are the plans? So like after school, or tomorrow, or maybe on the weekend, something like that. And number 3, let's try a have you. Have you PP? Okay, so we'll try those ones. So I'm going to give you, let's say, 20 seconds to think of a do you question. Or you could use do you like as well. So try a do you question that is interesting for you and probably for your partner too. We'll give you 20 seconds now. Go. Okay, so I'm hoping you asked a good question. I can give you some good ideas if you're a little bit stuck that might interest you. Like, do you have any pets? Or do you have a pet? Another one could be, do you like League of Legends? You know, perhaps if there's a game that you really like to play, ask your partner, do you like League of Legends? If you already know, don't ask the question because it's boring. We want to try to create interesting conversations, right? Because there's no point in it being boring. It's boring. So at the end of this video, once you have gone through everything, I will have a homework recap to remind you of all of the things that that I'm asking you to do. There's quite a lot of partner practice again this week. And also, when you speak to your partner, please try to chat for a little while. Make a conversation out of it instead of just question, answer, stop. It's a bit... I always feel like I'm in a role-playing game, you know, answer, and then you shoot the person, and they go, yes, and question, yes, question, no, you know, too simple. Anyways, moving on now to slide number 15. So slide number 15, what we're going to do is take a look once again in our books, and we're going to take a look at the chart. Let's skip the slide, so I'm just going back to check it. So what I would like you to do is to fill in the blanks in the chart, and then we will take a look at it together. Okay, go. Okay, so we're going to take a look together then and read through the chart, because this is, of course, important for us. So let's start up at the top, and we're going to look at the present tense and read the present tense questions together. So we've got to be and do. So let's read together. Number 1, who are you? And what's your answer? I am Jisoo Kim. I'm a student. Good. So we're supplying 2 pieces of information, even though only one question has been asked. So this is also a really good habit to get into. And the present tense question number 2, let's read it together. 1, 2, 3, go. When do you get up? And our answer, I get up at 7. So you have your 2 blanks filled there. Past tense. Now again, only the first verb is past tense. So what would our first question be? Can you read it out loud, please? Go. Good. So I'm hoping you got, why did you get up at 7? Because our did is the past tense, then get up is just present tense. Why did you get up at 7? And our answer, read. I had a lot of homework to do. Good. Second question. When did you play soccer today? And our answer, I played with the soccer club at 3. Okay, so 3 is our answer. Future tense. Let's take a look and read the question and the answer together now. 1, 2, 3, go. Why will you get up at 7? I will have a lot of homework to do tomorrow. So this is all in the future. Present continuous. Let's take a look. Read the question and answer together, please. 1, 2, 3, go. Why are you going to get up at 7? I'm going to do my homework. Now, in this case, when you're speaking and writing, there's a difference. So when we're speaking, it's quite usual to hear people say gonna. So why are you gonna get up at 7 would be the fast version of going to. But it's only spoken, it's not written. If you write it, it shows no skill, basically. So try your best to say it, but not write it. Let's look at the present continuous question number 2 and answer number 2, please. Let's read it together. 1, 2, 3, go. Why are you going to stay home tonight? I'm going to stay home because of the coronavirus. So again, if you want to shorten it, read it more quickly. Let's try it faster. 1, 2, 3, read. Why are you going to stay home tonight? I'm going to stay home because of the coronavirus. Can you hear it? So even though it's written usually like this, or in longer form, I am, when we speak more quickly. So if you're speaking slowly, you can't say gonna, because it doesn't match. Anyways, let's move on to present perfect. Let's read our first question and first answer, please. 1, 2, 3, read. Why have you been getting up at 7? I have been getting a lot of homework. And let's go question 2, answer 2. 1, 2, 3, go. How have you been playing? So we're talking about the soccer. I have been playing really well. I scored 3 goals and I'm the goalie. Quite amazing. Goalie scoring goals is unusual. Anyways, so the point about this is that we're taking a look not only at the tense, but we're looking at the question and answer matches, because the tense should match across. The question and answer should match. So we're using the grammar. Again, this is really positive for your students. So let's move on now to question number 2 at the bottom of the page. And question number 2, let's read it together. 1, 2, 3, read. Are these open or closed questions? And our answer is, these are open questions. Why? Let's take a look. How did you know that? Well, first of all, my slide is showing you, but the most important point is we can see every question began with a W. Who, when, why, how. So we know these are open questions, and that means we cannot answer yes or no. So we're going to move now down to the bottom of the page, and we'll do this homework together. So you have time, because I imagine you're probably getting a little bit stressed, but together is good, and we can do that, no problem. So let's take a look at the sentence number 1, question number 1. So question number 1, let's try a past tense. So what W do you like? So let's try now. I find that it sometimes helps if you give a time. Okay, so for example, summer vacation, or which would be last summer vacation or last winter vacation. You can choose anything you want, but we're going for simple past for number 1. So who, when, why, what, where, and did you. Question number 2, and then our second verb, of course, who did you see? Who did you see yesterday? Or who, what? What did you do yesterday? So the second verb is present tense, the first verb is past. Question number 2, let's take a look and let's try, what shall we do? Oh, there's an open question for you. What shall we do tomorrow? What will you do tomorrow? So let's try our future. So a W or an H, of course. I'm just going to put W on here, so it's simpler, but of course you can do whatever you like. Now, I'd also like you to notice, this is something that I don't know for sure if students have actually had it pointed out before, but if you take a look at questions versus sentences versus statements in English, you'll notice that the pronoun and the verb change places. Okay, so I am a student, I am a teacher, these are statements. And if we want to ask the question, then we reverse it. Are you a student? Are you a teacher? Like that. So this is a very simple point to note about how to ask questions. Last one. What shall we choose? How about we ask a present perfect, another present perfect. So, what movie have you seen lately? Okay. So remember that have you just means that it happened perhaps before, maybe you'll happen again, we don't really know. So it's a very open kind of question. And then we have to have the PP, of course, right? Where have you been lately? Where, what movies, what food have you eaten lately? What, lots and lots of choices. What's interesting for you is the question. Now, again, this is homework. This is a homework assignment, so I suggest very strongly that you wait to the end of the video until you have completed everything, and then call your partner and do all of these assignments as one. So you can chat with your partner for probably 5 or 10 minutes in English, which is exactly what we're going for. So let's take a look now at slide number 18. So slide number 18, once you are done that, once you're done your conversations or as you're doing them, what do you think was easier for starting a conversation? Do you think closed questions or open questions are easier? And think about why. Why do you think that was particularly easier? All right, we're moving on now to slide number 19. So slide number 19 is, I'm just going to do a quick check. Good. Slide number 19 is moving on to our second topic. Should, would, could. So you can see here on the picture that I chose, the softness, for decision making. So might, may, slightly stronger, could as possible, can, and it moves on forward. I would like you to notice though that should is in the middle, okay? So we're going to talk about this as a point because a lot of students get confused by how should is used in English versus Korean. If you are already comfortable with this, fantastic, then this is review again. So what I would like you to do is in your textbook, please match the present tense and the past tense together. You can just draw a line. Good. So if we take a look, you can see that our answers are can is the present of could, and our shall is the present of should, and will is the present of would. Now, why are we talking about this? Because also we can use these words to give our opinions. So they're used in other ways is what I'm trying to point out here. So if we take a look at slide 21, we can also give our opinion using these words. These are really good opinion words. So let's take a look at slide 22 and talk about each one separately. So slide 22, if you take a look at the picture, I really like this picture because this person has lots of choices. So could implies all the different choices that are possible. For example, I'm cold. Oof. What could I do? Okay, so what are the choices to stay warm? All right, so I've given you some examples here. I could put on a sweater. I could turn up the heat. I could go for a walk, maybe, get my blood circulating. That would make me warmer. I could do some aerobic exercise, go for a run, or do some jumping jacks, or skip. Or I could drink a cup of hot tea. So these are all choices that are a part of this. So there are many choices involved in could. What I wanted to point out with this is that also when we use the word you in English, so if I say you could as a suggestion, this can imply one person or it can imply many people. So it could be a general, any person could do these things. So I could do these things. If I want to talk to you about something, I would say you could. These are your choices. You could do this or you could do that. Moving now to slide 23. This is one of the words that a lot of students have a hard time with because in Korean, or perhaps in Korean translations traditionally, should tends to equate with must. In reality, should simply means it's a good idea. So, examples. You should brush your teeth. You should wash your face in the morning. But if you don't do these things, what will happen? Well, nothing terrible, really. I mean, you'll have bad breath. Maybe your poor friends will be sad. Or maybe your skin will be sad. But actually, you're not going to die. Nothing terrible will happen. So this is what should is about. It just means it's a good idea. So you should eat healthy food, right? But do you? So these modal verbs are a softer way to describe certain opinions. Slide 24. Let's take a look at slide 24. 24 is would. Now this is another one that students often get kind of confused by. The elementary school word is I want. So I want is acceptable. For example, I want a cup of coffee. But when we want to use a higher level, we would say I would like. So would is a higher level want also. So it implies my choice. So if you want to give advice to somebody, you can also use I would, which means if I were you, if I was in your position, I would do this. This is what my choice would be. So for example, if I say I'm cold, then your friend would say I would put on a sweater if I were you. And what they're trying to point out is that this is what I recommend. This is what I suggest. This would be the best for you. Okay, so let's move on now to slide 25. So we're going to go back into the textbook. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to read from the top of, how about we? We'll read it from the top here. So let's read together. Here we go. One, and try to read it loud. This is very good practice for you. 1, 2, 3, go. We can also use should, would, could in the present tense to show our opinion of choices. For example, my mother gives me 50,000 won. So could shows what choices are available, which we just spoke about. So I could order in a pizza. Hello, can I have a pizza? I could save the money. Here, your mom gives you, oh, my mom. I could possibly donate the money to charity. Wow, that would be very nice. I could go online and buy some new clothes. So this implies all of the possible choices. Should shows what is a good idea, as we just spoke about. And again, moms love this word. You should do this, you should do that, you should. It means it's a good idea because your moms want to guide you in making good decisions and good choices. I should save the money that my mom gives me. That's what my mom thinks. And our final choice is would. So would actually is what the choices that you actually would make. So would, W-O-U-L-D, sounds like would. So be careful because the English W, you have to move your lips. It's not ood, it's w. So you have to push out first before would. So would and would sound the same. So I would buy a new spring jacket. That would be my choice. So what I'd like you to do is you don't need to work with your partner for this. You can work by yourself and fill in the blanks. What could you do with 50,000 won? Write 3 ideas here. What could you do if you had won? I'll give you 20 seconds to decide on 3 things you could do with 50,000 won. What would you like to do? We could go. remember that I don't want you to copy my words, because I want you to think, because thinking helps you to learn much better than just copying what I say. Alright, so let's move on to the next question is, what do you think you should do with the money? What's a good idea? So for example, you could buy some jjajangmyeon, but you're on a diet. Okay, you could buy some fried chicken, but because you're on a diet, this is not a good idea. You should not buy fried chicken. So what should you do? Write it down. Go. Now the should implies that it's connected to the could. So if, for example, I say I could buy jjajangmyeon, I could, or we could buy fried chicken, and we could save the money. You know, if these two are not good ideas, then we should save the money would be a good idea. So make your choices wisely. They should be things your mom would agree with. Okay, so I give you another 20 seconds to decide again. Is the choice you made a good choice? Is that a good idea? Go. All right, so now we've got what choices we have. We have three choices. We have what our mom thinks would be a good idea, and what would be, it is probably a good idea, we should do that, but reality sometimes is not necessarily what we know to be good. Okay, so for example, maybe you're on a diet and you shouldn't order fried chicken, but maybe you will have some fried chicken because you just really want it right now, or something like that. So honestly, so I'm looking at our last line here. What would you do with the money? What would your real, honest choice be between what you have written here? So make the honest choice of what you would choose to do from the what you could choices. Go. All right, so we're going to move on now to slide 26. And slide 26 is using this language. So in this case, we're going to use it for advice. This is how to help each other, basically, is what we're trying to do here. So let's take a look at our what should I do getting ready. So let's read A together and numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, as well as the advice box. Okay, so let's read together. 1, 2, 3, go. Getting ready. A. Have you ever been in a similar situation? Match the correct advice to each problem. 1. My family is going to move to another city, but I don't want to move. 2. I don't want to sit next to Peter because he always teases me. Number 3. I lost my cell phone. Number 4. I failed my math test. Advice. Let's look in the advice box and we're going to read A, B, C, D. 1, 2, 3, read. A. If I were you, I would ask my friends to help me find it. B. You should tell your teacher what is happening. C. You should ask your teacher for extra help. And D. Why don't you talk about your feelings with your parents? Okay, so what I'd like you to do is match the problems with the advice. Go. Okay, if you need a little more time, remember, just pause the video and then you can start it back up when you're ready. We're going to move now to B, which is the practice, our pair work. What I'd like you to do is I'm going to write in pair work because what I would like you to do is when you do call your partner to talk with them and practice your open questions and closed questions, I would also like you to practice these reading your problems and then giving advice to those problems, the solutions. So practice the pair work practice when you call your partner. Please practice these 4 problems with your partner. And then we're going to move on to the conversation practice. So this is a slightly longer version. And what I'd like you to do is to practice these 4 conversations with your partner. Now, of course, you do not need to do them in perfect order. If you want to, you can switch the order and do the last conversation second. You know, it's a random order. It's completely up to you. And the other thing I'd like you to do is try to add a bit of drama. So change your tone. So for example, if you have a problem, how do you feel? Usually people feel sad, stressed, worried. So your voice tends to lower and get a little quieter. So add that to when you're talking to your partner. Next, I would like to move on to slide 27. So slide 27 is our communication section. So it's the pronunciation section at the bottom of the page for conversation. And what I'd like to do is to practice it together. So listen and repeat, please. So we're going to work first with our words. So what I'd like you to notice here is what happens with your teeth. And the length of the sound in English tends to be quite long. So number 1 is tease. Number 2, we're going to push the first syllable. So the syllable is 동이요, and basically it's how we break the word. So in English and Korean, sometimes it's the same, sometimes it's a little bit different, and sometimes it's very different. But the reason why we want to keep the same syllables as the language you're speaking, so in this case English, is to help people understand more clearly, okay? So in this case we have similar, and we're going to focus on the first syllable, which means we're going to make it a little stronger, a little louder, and push it a bit more. So we go similar, similar, similar. Can you do it? Try. Excellent, very good. All right, we're moving on now to number 3. So number 3 again has 3 syllables. So we have library, and again we're pushing the first syllable. Now, my understanding is in Korean we don't do this. We keep the same stress for each part of the word, but in English this is quite a common part of the language, so it's good to practice this. So let's try. Library, library, good. And number 4, of course, we've got practice, practice. Now, especially for my younger students, I like to get them moving their body so that it helps them remember this more easily. So if it helps you in any way, you can think like in music and go practice. Perhaps like you're composing a song, or you're a composer and you're in front of your orchestra, something along those lines. Now, do be careful, of course, about adding extra syllables, because in Korean we don't, how shall I put it? Often students like the breaks are at a different time in the words compared to in English. In English we can do a lot of things that we can't do in Korean. So, for example, in practice, many students will say practice. So try and drop that last word and use English the way English would be understood. So practice. So we just end with the S. Now let's try the sentence. So we do the same with sentence stress. So for this sentence we have the push are the words that are bolded and underlined. So you should ask your teacher for extra help. Okay? You try. Try it maybe 3 times. Go. Try again. And again. Good, excellent. We're going to move now to the following slide. So these pronunciation tips are really good just because it's a good thing to get you thinking about this, because as future English teachers, these are small points that you can really help your elementary school students with, and you can have a lot of fun with it too. We're moving now to the communication task on the following page. So we're going to do this right now. We're going to look at the problems, and then we're going to think of advice that would be good to give to someone with this problem. So let's take a look at problem number 1. So read problem number one with me, please. Now, 1, 2, 3, read. I saw someone cheating on a test. What should I do? What should I do? Okay, so what I would like you to do is to write down what you think this person should do. Okay, I'll give you 20 seconds. Go. Okay, if you need more time again, of course, please pause the video and take your time. We're going to move on to problem 2. Let's read it together. 1, 2, 3, go. I found a lot of money on the street. What should I do? Lots of choices. So remember, you should means it's a good idea, okay? So let's try it. What advice would you give to someone if they found a lot of money on the street? Okay, 1, 2, 3, go. Good. So we're going to move on now to our problem number 3. So problem number 3, let's read it together. 1, 2, 3, read. I got a bad grade on my math test. What should I do? So think about it. If I were you, I would, what would your choice be? Okay, so I'll give you 20 seconds. Please write down your advice. And remember, if you need more time than that, again, please pause the video. Go! Good. Okay. What we're going to do now is move on to problem number 4, our final, well, possibly final problem. Problem number 4, I forgot. Let's read it together. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, go. I forgot to bring my homework. What should I do? All right. So give your advice. Why don't you means, well, it's the same principle. This is a good suggestion for someone. So let's try it. Write down what you think the person should do. Go. Okay, now what I've done here is I've given you one more problem, but what I'd like you to do for problem number 5 is think about a problem that you have or have had before. And what you're going to do is we're going to, when you're speaking to your partner, which we're going to look at now, let's take a look at 29. So slide 29, we have, this is our communication task again. So rather than in a group of 4, because I think that's probably a little too complex, so I just want you to use this with your partner. Call a partner and you're going to ask their advice for these problems, okay? Now, number 5 is your problem, okay? So you're going to ask about your problem and your partner is going to give you some, hopefully, good advice. So we're going to move on to the presentation skills pattern, and I'm going to talk about the Bunnicula Chapter 1 in the next video, but I'm going to stop the video for now, so please remember to watch video 2 shortly. Bye-bye.